we're going to go ahead and get started. We're going to record this for you. Actually, it's already recording, and we'll be able to share this with you so that you can share it with others who may have missed it and who may be interested in what we're going to talk about today. What we're going to talk about today is really interesting for you anyway. For sure. It's been very interesting for us for the last 1.5 to 2 years as we have been building out the new version of Zingtree's authoring platform. And we're here today to show it to you, get you a little bit prepared. Some of you might already be on it. The rest of you, if you're not, you will be very soon. And we're going to show you what you can expect, some of the improvements, and talk a little bit about what you can expect in the future with this. All right, it's pretty exciting, and we're happy to show this to you today. So first, let's introduce our team. And we have a slide there. There we go. Thanks, Dante. So hi, I'm Debbie McCormick. I needed the slide here to remember who I was, but I'm Debbie McCormick. I'm the Director of Education and Implementation. I've been with Zingtree since the very first day of the company, actually since before that, and I've worked quite closely with our co-founders for over 20 years now. And with us today is Brandon Anderson. He's our Chief Product Officer. And Brandon comes to us from NBC Sports, Sports Engine, Amazon, Dow Jones, and we are very, very grateful to have Brandon on our team, and he's going to be talking to you here in just a moment. And Dante Vono. Dante is our UX Director. I think he has probably the funnest job in the company, and Dante comes to us with lots of experience as well, Wall Street Journal, MarketWatch, and Wolters Kluwer. So with that, let us kick it off. Everybody say, hey, hi. Sound right. Let's go ahead then and start off with Brandon.
Thanks, Debbie. Your intros are always too kind. For those of you who haven't met Debbie, Debbie is the glue that keeps Zingtree together. She has been here since the beginning of Zingtree. She knows how to do everything. So as we get through today's session, if questions come up that I can't answer or Dante can't answer, I'm going to bet that Debbie can answer those questions. So
setting me up for failure already.
There's no failure. There's only room for improvement, right, Debbie?
That's true.
First off, I want to thank everybody for joining today. We're going to spend about 45 minutes or so today covering our new authoring experience. I realize that everybody's busy, that you have other jobs to do, other things to get accomplished. And so we're super appreciative that you would take the time to learn more about the work that we've been doing over the course of the last 1.5 years. So before we do that, I just want to give a brief introduction. So my name is Brandon. As Debbie mentioned, I've been with Zingtree about 11 months. I came from NBC Sports, where I ran a youth sports technology division, where we had a decision tree underpinning a lot of the work that we did there. I was very versed in kind of the features and functionality that we needed as a homegrown decision tree builder to help supply youth sports technology out to families across America and the UK. So I came when I started with Zingtree. I just knew that this product had some really great features and functionality and kind of a really good path forward to improve its previous experience. And that would be what we would call the classic authoring experience. So for the last 1.5 years, we've been working underneath the hood to improve that experience and bring out the new authoring experience, which you'll see here today. So behind me and within my team, we have been growing really rapidly, kind of our talent within Zingtree over the course of last year. In late 2021, we went out and did a Series A investment out from venture capital community. And we raised capital, and we've been investing very heavily in our product. And you're going to start to see some of the enhancements come forth here with new authoring and then rapidly thereafter. And at the tail end of this meeting, I'm going to share with you some of the roadmap items that we are working on, and maybe give you a sneak peek of some of the things that we think we can do to make your lives easier and add more value to your businesses. So, so to just kind of set for the table for today, the goals of our new authoring experience was really, to take the technology that had been built over the course of the last 7 years and kind of bring it together in a more cohesive package. A lot of the user interface, a lot of the navigational elements were dated and oftentimes not in areas where you would intuitively look for them. We acknowledge that. And so we did a lot of work to really kind of clean that up in the new authoring experience. So Dante and other folks across Zingtree have been involved in, doing a ton of customer interviews, creating prototypes, working through user feedback on our test environments. So we've been kind of collecting information from real world users to make sure that we're making the right decisions and we're validating those before we push those live. Dante will be walking you through some of those decisions that we made. Hopefully you'll see that they're really nice improvements. We really want to make it easier in the new authoring solution for you to author the trees and build better workflows and have more capabilities. So you're going to start to see some of the new layout, some of the new functions, some of the ways that we have made that entire building process more efficient. I will say out of the gate that this is just a start. We have built this new authoring experience to really rapidly build new features. The previous authoring experience had code that was a little bit older, a little bit harder to introduce new features. But with this new code, in addition to enhancing the underlying security and continuing to evolve our practices, which we already believe are very strong, and building up more ways to be more performant in terms of the trees authoring and rendering to your end users. It's also a great clean place for our developers to build new code. So as we go through this process here today, you're going to see what we've done with new authoring and kind of our first version, and then you're going to hear some of the roadmap items that are coming out, and we'll kind of go a little bit deeper about what those things mean and the timing therein. So that's probably enough of me talking and setting the table. The real meat of this presentation is with Dante. So I'll hand it over to him to give you a tour of new authoring. And I think he's going to do a little bit of a comparison between what you're familiar with and what's coming up. So Dante.
That's right, Brandon. Thanks so much.
Before we get started with Dante, I'm so sorry to interrupt. What I didn't mention to you before is that we want your questions. So please go ahead and drop any questions that you might have throughout this session into the Q&A. We'll make sure that we get them answered, as many of them as we can, and we can reach out to you via email for those that we might not get to. But please go ahead and drop your questions in as you have them, and we will get them answered for you. You'll see a Q&A button at the bottom of your screen. Thanks, guys. Go ahead, Dante. Sorry about that.
No problem at all. Yes, definitely send us your questions. We'd love to hear them and answer them. So I'll be your tour guide. No tipping necessary. This is free of charge. And I thought the best way to show you a tour of new authoring is to do a side-by-side comparison like Brandon mentioned. So what I'm going to show you is a series of changes that you might need to make to the trees that you author. There's so many things we could show you in new authoring, but I feel like the bread and butter is working with that content inside of nodes, adding questions and answers, editing text, the things that you do many, many times for dozens of trees, and those trees may have dozens or hundreds of nodes. So this is something you're going to be doing a lot, and you already do a lot today. So let's just get into it. And what we're going to do is make a series of changes to a decision tree. I'm going to make the update in classic Zingtree, and then I'm going to flip over to new authoring and show you that exact same change, but how your experience will be improved. So the first thing that we needed to do is find the tree that we're working on. We know the name of the tree. The one that we're looking for is the outbound sales tree. Of course, because I was making sure my demo works, it's at the top of the page here, but that might not be the case with the tree that you're working on. So how would you find that? Well, you might use your browser search on the page. And so you might know it has the word agent in it, but there's probably multiple things that have agent on this page. But yeah, we found it. That worked okay. Let's pop over to new authoring. here's the new authoring my trees page. And if I want to find a tree with the word, say, agent or sales, I just have to type that here. And I can instantly filter the list of trees to see exactly the ones I want. This is a small thing, but you'll notice the benefit of it, which is why I wanted to point it out. We'll come back to new authoring in a moment. Let's go to classic Zingtree, because we need to open this tree now that we've located it and make our change. So the change that we need to make today has to do with some values in the tree. This tree has some numbers here that say 7,000. And let's say in our hypothetical scenario here, something's changed with this product and now it needs to say 6,000. So we need to make sure that every place that it says 7,000, it changes 6,000 and we don't miss anything. So when an agent is reading the script, they're conveying that accurate information. So there's a few ways we could go about this, but we're just going to actually go one by one for a couple of these nodes, and we're going to locate where we see this value, like here, and we're going to edit the node. Now the text that I want is down here, so I'm going to change that. And you'll see that it goes to another node here with the title, and I want to change the title too. So I make my change and I hit save. Now I'm back at the top of this tree, and I'm going to go down again to find the next button I need to change. So I'm going to change that one. Same thing, scroll down, hit save, and I'm back at the top again. So scrolling down through the page, and you'll notice I'm pointing this out for a reason here, that what we're going to see in new authoring is going to be a lot more efficient because we don't need to edit this tree across different pages. That's kind of a fundamental thing with classic Zingtree, that everything is on a different page, which maybe you hadn't really noticed before, but you'll certainly notice the improvement on that in new authoring. So here we go, we'll just make these changes. That's probably good enough for our demo here. Okay, now let's go to new authoring. Here's my tree. I'm going to switch to the default view here. And what you're looking at is, in new authoring, a side-by-side view of a tree with everything on one page. So instead of those changes being spread across multiple pages, those nodes, all the nodes are right here along the left. So I can simply click a node and the information appears here on the right. No bouncing between different pages, no reason to start at the beginning of the page and scroll down. So let me just show you what that looks like. I can select the nodes I need to edit here, and I'll make the change here. Great, now I need to save the change. Hey, there's not a Save Changes button. Well, that's because one of the many improvements in new authoring is that changes can be saved automatically if you so choose. So as I move through this tree, I actually don't have to scroll all the way down to the bottom to find the Save button, only to scroll down again from the next page. In fact, you'll see that the right-hand side of the page here, which is the active node, actually retains its scroll position. So you'll see as I move between nodes, it stays right there. So if I'm editing this section of nodes as I am here, I can move between the nodes and I don't even need to scroll here on the right-hand side of the page. So I can continue making my changes. There's my auto save you can see as I'm going along. Now I didn't pull out a stopwatch for this, but if I were to do the same change side by side, it would definitely be a lot faster. Debbie's been working a lot in new authoring, and she can attest to the speed gains that come from having everything on one screen, not needing to load a new page for every change, not needing to hit a save button for every change. It all adds up. Okay, that's probably enough for now. So there's a great example of the benefits of the side-by-side UI in new authoring. So let's say for the next change that we need to make, let's say it's a button text. So we've made our changes here in the questions and the answers to say 6,000. But let's go back to classic Zingtree, and let's say we have to make I think it's node 14. We have a list of changes here. We'll say where we're working from, and let's say we need to change this button to say yes instead of okay. So we're going to go here. Now, something to look at, to point out here in classic Zingtree is all the different sections of the node that I'm editing are tabbed. So I get a tab for content and a tab for action buttons, etc. And depending on what I need to work on, I might need to change this to focus on it. So just keep that in mind here. So we're going to change that button text to yes. And wait for that to save. Now, when I open that same node in new authoring, you don't see a list of tabs because we've changed it to a list of panels. And panels offer a benefit from tabs in that rather than show one at a time, I can show two, or I can show three, or I can show all. It depends on what I'm working on. So if I need to focus, say, on the form fields or questions and answer buttons at the same time, action buttons, I can do that. I can leave these open, close the other ones. And in fact, similar to the scroll position, if I move to a different node, these stay in place. So these will stick to whatever you need to be working on so you can move through that tree. It's another small but important benefit that the application is remembering the changes that you make. Whereas in classic Zingtree, every page is sort of like a new default. It's always at the top of the page. It's always at the default tab within a node. And here this change will remain. So let's make the same change here. We have to change this to say yes. Now, if you've made a change to a tree, chances are you've wanted to preview it to see what it looks like, right? To make sure that the agent view is correct and what the agent is going to click on is also updated and looking the way you expect it to. So we'll preview in new authoring in a moment, but let's go back to classic Zingtree here and return to our node that we were editing the button text on, where we changed that maybe to yes. And let's say we want to preview this node, just so we made our change. Okay, I want to see what that looks like for the agent. Okay, yep. That's right. What happens when I click this? Oh, wait, I can't do this. So surely you've encountered and become accustomed to errors or barriers in classic Zingtree, just like this, where you can't move to edit from here because what you're looking at is a visual preview. And chances are you've adopted your work style, and that's fine. That's not a big deal. But something you'll see absent from new authoring are these barriers. There's no need to put a barrier between previewing, say, the tree and editing it. So if I've made my change here and I want to preview that node, I can actually continue to freely navigate the preview right here. I'm not going to get an error. Why should I get an error? Because I just want to click the button and see what happens, right? So you're free to move around the tree on the preview, and you're free to load those nodes up here as well. And in fact, when I'm in preview mode, I can just click through those nodes and see what those preview like this way. And then I can return to editing like that. Okay, so we've made our button change, we've made our text change, and now we need to make a logic flow change. So there's something about this tree that there's a third option somewhere we need to add. Someone told us, let's say, you need to add a third option for that tree. Maybe we haven't looked at this in a while, so we need to refresh ourselves. So what is the logic flow of this tree? Well, a great way to see that is through the Visual Designer, which you've surely used. So let's go to the Visual Designer mode for this tree, so we can kind of refresh our memory with the logic of this tree and see where we need to add that third option. So here's the default view of Visual Designer, which some of you may use and you're probably all familiar with. Now, for me, when I go to this view here, when I click, I get a selection like that. I'm just going to point that out for a reason here in a moment. So if I want to scroll through here, I'm actually using my trackpad now to do that. Now, some of these differences might be unique to me and my Mac setup, but it's not an uncommon platform. Some of you probably use that as well. This is actually just something I noticed recently. So the thing I'm looking for is actually node 15. I want to see that. So it's all the way at the end here. So what I want to see is what's coming into 15. There's a yes here and there's a yes here. And So I can see that relatively clearly, but maybe I want to actually arrange this a little bit better. So I can, maybe it's depending on your tree, it might be easier to use the auto arrange. So when I do that, now when I try to use the trackpad to scroll, now it zooms here. So I have the same action resulting in two different outcomes in the visual designer. I actually can click and drag with my mouse here, interestingly. So a small thing, I just want to point out that today you're using sort of two different views of visual designer, not necessarily because it's the best workflow, but just something that was built out over time. So you're going to see how we improve that in new authoring in a moment. But let's say that now, because of this, I can see, all right, here's where I need to add my third option. So I'm going to click that. Oh no, look at that. Another one of those barriers that just is a result of classic Zingtree being built out over time. You're not going to find that in new authoring. There's not going to be a barrier between what you're looking at and what you need to do. So let's just flip over to that and take a look. So here, if I want to see a visual view, all I need to do is click this button here, which is the flowchart view of the tree. And you could see that I can flip back and forth between at any time, and there's no auto arrange view because it is auto arranged for me. So I can clearly see the logical flow of this tree, where everything is. And here, as an example, I think it's actually a lot easier to see that on this node, I can see that there's those two options flowing in, and that I need to add my third option here. And you can notice that editing, unlike classic Zingtree, is always present. It's always on the right-hand side. So rather than switching between the visual view, then the editing, it's a side-by-side. So if I want to edit the node that I've selected here in the visual designer, it's right there. So no errors, no barriers. You are free to navigate the tree and edit it without anything getting in your way. So you can move about as fast as you can think. All right, so we're going to do one final change here for our tour, and that's to add a third option for node 11 here. We have a yes, we have a no, and let's say we need to add a maybe, just for the purposes of this demo. So like the other changes, we're going to make that in classic Zingtree first. So I'll return to classic Zingtree. So it's telling me I can't make the change here, so I have to leave here. So we're going to cancel out of that. And we're going to go back to the overview to make that change. So scroll back down to 11. There we go. Now here's where I'm going to add my third option for maybe. So add a button, maybe. Now there isn't a node for this. We're going to need to make it. So you're very familiar with this. You save your change. We go back to the overview. We're going to add a node. This is going to be our maybe node. We're going to save that change. Now here we are back at the page. I'll tell you, you're not going to miss scrolling from the top of a page in new authoring. And this is a relatively short tree, right? There's only 17 nodes here. Okay, so there's our maybe node. Here's where we want to link it from in 11. So there we go. Now I can select the node that I created. So I didn't count that up, but it took I think it was about 4 screens, a few steps for sure, right? And this is a very common pattern to add text for a button and then a corresponding node to link to. So let's take a look at how we would do that in new authoring. So I'm already on the node that I want.
Sorry, Dante. This is the cool part, guys. Watch this.
All right. I mean, I thought that was all cool. This is the coolest part.
This is the part that you're going to really, really appreciate.
So I add an action button. I've got my button text. I'm going to type maybe. And when I move to this link, you can see that here is my option to create it. So I don't have to save, leave, create a node, link it. I can do all that right here. So if what I want is a new node called maybe, I just do that. There it is. I just added it in one step and it's auto saved. So I don't even have to save the page. And there it is. There's the node that I need to work on. And you can see how much faster that was. And I think that is the end of our tour. It is definitely not the end of exciting new functionality that you'll find in new authoring, because there's a whole lot more, but that's what we decided to focus on today.
There's a couple of questions, Dante, that
Yeah.
I answered them by, typing response back in the Q&A, but I think especially there's a couple of these here that I think would benefit everybody to see.
Sure.
So Vanessa asked, is there a search and replace all feature with the new authoring? And the answer is of course yes, and also that we've greatly improved it. So Dante, would you mind showing search and replace from the My Trees there?
Yes. So we're going off-road. This is not part of the tour, but we're happy to show you anything.
Going off script here.
Well, let's use the word script and see what we find. Some of the changes, improvements that we've made for search and replace are today, if you're familiar with, actually, we can just do the same thing here, can't we? We can, now, here we go. I'll highlight a couple improvements that we've made. Oh, this is a different set of trees. So I'm just going to search for a word I think is in there. It's not. Button.
How about sales?
Sales. Oh, wait. Sorry. Someone on the phone is probably yelling, you're just searching in that tree. We want to search all the trees.
Yeah, all trees.
Here we go. Okay, so a couple UI improvements that we made when we rolled out search and replace to new authoring. I'll highlight them here. One, I think, is the speed. Now, this is a different set of trees, but I do feel like there's some speed improvements in new authoring.
Yes, the organization's Dante searching it in Classic is quite large. It's our testing org, so you definitely notice that that's taking some time. I think we can go ahead and look at the improved. There you go.
All right, so a couple improvements that we made here is one, each tree name uses a new line, so it can be hard depending on how you name your trees, where one section of trees ends and the next tree begins. Like, for example, these are all the same tree. But at some point it'll change over, and yeah, I noticed it here, but depending on how your trees were named, right? If you had one called 2022, that would be the only difference between that. So one of the things that we wanted to do with the new authoring search and replace is to show that tree name once, so that you can clearly see where one segment or one chunk of tree nodes, where that delineation is. So here I can clearly see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 trees there. It's a lot easier to see than this list here. Another change is in the classic Zingtree search and replace, this text that you're searching for might be inside the node. Might not be shown here, it might be in the content area as an example, and you can't see it here. So what you'll notice in the new authoring search and replace is you can preview any one of these and actually see where that text is. So I searched for the word script and it appeared right here, and I actually can see where that is. I'll try a different one so I can just show you the highlighting. So here I'm going to search for the word approval. Approve? No. Button? If we go off script, off road on our tour, we might find stuff like this, but I know I can find an example. So let's see, what would be a good one? Purchase. Just want to find something that will show this highlighting. Oh, purchasing. There we go. Well, I'll have to find it later. You will see highlighted text for the text that you've matched here, just kind of like you're seeing right there. I'm not seeing it for this one, but I think that answers the question. That was the point, right? Yes, this search and replace does exist.
Yeah, and then just a couple of more. In the chat, Scott had noticed that you had some button prefixes on there with button green or button red or button yes, button no.
Right.
And so I did answer in the chat. Let me put the documentation link there. There we go. I did answer in the chat about that for you. Those are custom button colors and custom icons that we have like pre-baked into Zingtree, that if you said button yes or button no, it would be, you know, with a check mark or an X, and button red would be red. And the documentation is all there in that article for you. The other, can we still preview the look on a mobile phone? You're right, we don't have that preview, the mobile phone preview yet in new authoring, like you can do in classic authoring. In classic, it really was just pretty much a mock-up of you know, what you would see on a mobile phone. I wouldn't say a mock-up, it was functional. However, we don't have that yet in new authoring. Brandon, I don't know if you can speak to that, or if you have any information on that.
Yeah, not that one directly, but I can talk a little bit generally about the roadmap and how we intake new requests like that, or feature enhancements that we want to make in the new platform. So David, I'm happy to chat a little bit deeper about that here in a couple minutes. But before we get to the kind of roadmap section, I want to make sure that there's no other questions maybe that are out there about different capabilities that users might want to see while Dante's driving. So if anybody has any other questions in the Q&A, feel free to drop them in there.
Somebody, Marie asked, can we search with just a tree ID? Yes, when you're filtering your list of trees in My Trees, if you have a tree ID, typing it in there will find it as well. So that does work exactly the same. There we go. So there's that 475. So even just typing in the first few numbers will let you find that tree. And Marie asks, is this the same process for when you're creating a new tree? And I think, Marie, you were talking mostly about the auto connection to a new node. Yes, that would work the same. If I am assuming incorrectly that that's what your question was related to, please just let us know. And Marcus, great improvement so far. Thanks, Marcus. And does it automatically save on a timer, like every 30 seconds, or does it automatically save every time you type delete in the node? I think it's about, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, maybe a second or so for every change. Of course, you do notice that Dante has an undo button in the content node toolbar. So if he, you know, types something there, it's the very top left button of the toolbar. He can undo, or Command Z or Control Z if you're in Windows. So you can undo. Also, you still have your snapshots where you can, your version history, where you can go back in time. It's under Tools and Version History. Awesome. From there, you can go back in time and change and you know, go back to a previous version. Also, you can always turn off autosave if you don't like it. Some people love it, are so happy to have it. Some are like, no, I love my save changes button. Keep in mind, if you are using the autosave, then hopefully you have the push live tool enabled on your tree so that changes are being made right in front of your end user's very eyes as you're making them, right? As if that is a live tree that's out in the wild in your call center, for example. Use the push live tool, make your changes, make sure everything is right, and then push it live so that everything is ready. And you have your QA process, whatever you need to do. These are all great questions, and so keep them coming. I think we have a couple more. If I was using agent user code, how do I toggle between the two views? So that functionality really has not changed. So what we're referring to here is one of the templates that we have in the content node editor allows you to type in content that is for agent only or user only, and it puts in Dante, if you go to the 3 dots in the node editor and go down to the template microphone. There we go. My microphone cut out there for a second. We have show user only content and show agent only content. You can put those tags on buttons as well. In order to be able to actually see what an agent sees versus what a user sees, you would need to log in as an agent in an agent view, like our agent portal or your integration, to be able to see what the agent sees. And if you want to see what an end user sees, simply open the tree in either preview or via the publishing link, where you would be acting as an end user unless you've passed in and agent mode equals 1, for example. Marie asks, when do we migrate over? And do we have anything and do we have to do anything to the existing trees we have in Classic? Let's have Brandon answer.
I would love to take that one. Thanks. Great question, Marie. And thanks to everybody for all the questions everybody's asked so far. If you don't get a chance to ask the questions that are of interest to you during this session, feel free to reach out to us or your customer success manager with any questions that you have, and we'll be happy to answer them. So I just kind of want to give you a little sense of how this has been rolled out and how it's going to be rolled out to you and your company over the course of the next couple months. So Zingtree, as we said at the onset of this meeting, Zingtree's been working on this enhancement for quite some time. We actually began the rollout of the enhancement back in April timeframe. So our first customers started to migrate onto the new platform in April. And each month we have been adding more customers to it. We currently have a little over 90% of Zingtree customers using the new authoring tool. So that's been a really great experience so far for us and for our customers. We've been able to release it. We've received some feedback. There's been a couple bugs like you have with software releases that we've mitigated, and we're continuing to enhance it. So we're getting feedback like, hey, maybe it'd be great if you could move some of the boxes around in the visual designer, for example, has come up, and that's currently in the queue to be implemented and built. So we're taking user feedback, we're incorporating it directly back into the code. So we're at the point now where we're at around the final 10% of Zingtree customers getting onto the new platform. We have created new sandbox environments for the remaining 10% of our accounts. And that would include most of you, I believe. And at that point, so we've copied over your existing trees into the new authoring sandbox environment. So you can get used to it. You can show different users. You can have different authors within your system, kind of play around and get acclimated with it before you go and bring it into your day-to-day operations. We're really trying to not be disruptive. We know that we're asking you to change, and you have full-time jobs that you're trying to perform. So we're trying to be extremely respectful of that. So if you haven't heard from your customer success manager about your sandbox environment on new authoring, you will very shortly. You will have ample opportunity to go and work with it. And then we'll be asking you and working with your teams to migrate you over. So you will not be, receiving an email or a call saying, hey, you've got a week to go. We're going to be really working with you, making sure that you're comfortable, making sure that your team's well acclimated to the new system before we go and put it in. So I just want to note that, and that's our approach. We want to stay out of the way of your day-to-day operations, and we believe that this is a really nice enhancement overall. Dante showed just a handful of the features that we have put in here, and you can see that it's just much more efficient. We do have a long ways to go still. And I like how Marcus said it, nice improvements so far. I'm just going to stress on the so far part. We know that there's many other areas that we can improve and make your lives easier and make sure that we bring more power to Zingtree and your internal operations. And we intend to do so with our kind of increased product and engineering team. We're getting a lot more done than we had in years past. So you're going to start to see some of those changes. And if I could ask Debbie to pull up the slide deck again here, that would be great. And I will ask to go to the roadmap slide. want to give you a little sense of some of the things that are upcoming and some of the focus areas for Zingtree. So within our product and engineering department, we've really focused on 3 core pillars here. The core application. This is what we're talking about today, the authoring and the agent rendering, or maybe if you're using Zingtree in a self-help or on your website, that's what we consider the core application. So I'll talk about that in a minute. The second area is integrations, is how do we make sure that Zingtree is appropriately situated in your existing technology stack, that we can connect to the systems of record, connect to your data sources in ways that really empower you and your agents and your customer interactions in a more cohesive way. And then finally is in the data and telemetry area. And I'll talk about that last here, but we've been making significant investments in that area, of which you'll start to see some of those enhancements in the coming months. So going back, and we'll go left to right here. So the core application, the improvement of the authoring experience, you're seeing kind of our first major release. There are a ton of new features that are coming out, small, slightly larger. We're working through a very aggressive roadmap to get you even more capability. So you saw a lot of it today, but you're going to be seeing more authoring capabilities, moving nodes around, adding more text to your nodes, being clearer about what you're highlighting, putting answers between the nodes so you can actually read, where people are going through those. Those are seemingly small enhancements, but when you start to kind of bring all those to fruition, you start to really empower authoring experience that's way more efficient, way more intuitive than it currently is. And so we're going to continue to enhance there. Tree management, I am very excited about that. I know many of you will be very excited about this release, but we're bringing new capabilities into managing large numbers of trees. Many of our customers have hundreds, if not thousands of trees. Long lists of trees are impossible to manage at scale. When you have different authors around, it's impossible, right? It is very difficult. And in classic authoring, as Dante showed you, even more difficult because of the scrolling nature of the application and the fact that you have to go and traverse different pages to get to the information that you're wanting. So in about a little over a month, we're going to be rolling out a beta program to introduce folders. So you're going to have the capabilities of having folders within your My Trees section. So you're going to be able to group and create your own folders. Our first version is largely modeled after what like Google Drive would be if you want to kind of understand what that user experience is like. We also, as Dante showed, we have better filters and some more actions that are going to be brought into the tree management. So you'll be able to kind of organize your work in a lot more cohesive manner. And so that's going to be a very exciting release that's upcoming. Our developers are actually working on it right now. So excited to get there. A little bit later this year, we're going to be enhancing kind of our tree approval and push live features. So how do you use Zingtree in sub environments or testing environments and then production environments? And then how do you release those or deploy your Zingtree trees, right? We just showed you a great new feature about like auto saving, which is awesome. But if you're in a production tree and you're hitting auto save, that's going directly out to your agents or in your website. Many customers at scale in enterprise situations want to really control those deployments. Our tool can do better at that. And so we're going to do better at that. We're going to be enhancing the way that you push things through environments, the way that you get trees live. We're also going to be introducing an approval process. So if there's an author, but before it goes live, it needs to go to maybe a supervisor or a knowledge manager or whoever it is within your organization to approve it, you'll have the ability to do that handoff and have somebody else review it prior to pushing it live. So that work is currently being prototyped. I will say here that we are recruiting people to look at our prototype and kind of work with us on it. We generally, our approach is we take the features that are going to be more impactful to our users and we try to get it as battle tested as we can prior to even starting, writing a line of code on it. So Dante's got some really great prototypes here. I know that him and Greta, our product manager on the core application side, have a series of interviews set up this week. If any of you on the call are interested in that, just reach out to us or your customer success manager. We would love to get your feedback incorporated directly into what we're building because we're building for you. So those are just a couple. There's many more that are going on, and we'll kind of, as we get a little bit closer to the release of those, you'll start to hear more information and get some more kind of enablement training on those, especially if they, give you new capabilities that you could potentially deploy within your environments. On the integrations front, Zingtree has spent a lot of time this year, in particular, enhancing our integrations. So we do a lot of CRM integrations, like many of you would know. We do Salesforce integrations and Zendesk and Freshdesk and the like. We are also adding more CRMs. We're currently working on ServiceNow and Microsoft Dynamics. So people and groups that are integrating us using CRMs, we're going to continue to expand it. And each of those integrations also continues to get evolved with more features and functionality. For example, within our Salesforce integration, recently we deployed that you could use Salesforce email templates in the middle of a flow. So if your agent's going through a flow and you need to email out to the customer that you're talking about, it can call in the appropriate template and send out an email. It also can now traverse multiple layers deep into objects. So it can update objects that you're not even on. So if you're on a certain object, but you're updating through your Zingtree two objects deep, it will go and make that update for you directly within the tree. So we have a lot of enhancements on that area. Also, we're going to be including a bunch more partner resources, and we're enhancing our APIs and webhooks. So currently today, you can write JavaScript, custom JavaScript. You can create a webhook to call unauthenticated information and data sources into Zingtree. Maybe many of you use it, or people within your organization uses it. We are finding that more sophisticated users want more capabilities, and so we're working on that. We're working on features that are going to allow you to call authenticated OAuth flow APIs directly into your Zingtree trees. Now, for some of you, that might not make any sense, and that's fine, but for some of you, it will. And if that's of interest to you, those are features that are coming out in the not too distant future. And then finally, in the last section here, the data and telemetry, we have been investing very heavily, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago, in this area. We've been building out brand new infrastructure. So currently our reporting today, I think it's fine. We create, you can get CSVs or HTML reports. Maybe many of you take those reports, get scheduled, automatically schedule those to be delivered, and then you bring them into your BI tool, perhaps, or maybe you're calling one of our APIs for that function and bringing it into your BI, or you're consuming it within Zingtree. We just know that we can do better in this area, and so we intend to. So you're going to see in the coming quarter, you're going to start to see us replace our current reporting with new reporting. All of the reports and all of the calculations and all the underlying data is going to be the same, but the way that it's coming out is going to allow us to bring new capabilities. So one, it's going to be way more performant. So our reports are going to be faster, able to grind through more data quickly than our current reports. So for many of you, that will be a relief. There are some reports like sessions that take a long time, especially if you have heavily used trees. So you're going to see more performant data. Two, we're going to be able to deliver it in new methods. So you'll be able to deliver it to webhooks, S3 buckets, FTPs. These are functions that will help a lot of your BI groups in-house. We're also going to eventually be enhancing our APIs to make it way more robust. Also, in addition to that, you're going to start to see new reports and new visualizations. So part of what we've been putting in is a whole visualization engine. And that's going to allow us to take the reports that are currently CSVs and actually start to bring some insights out directly within our reporting. And then that can also be extended into your BI applications if you need it. So if you're using Power BI or Domo or one of these, the ideal situation is that you have the opportunity to get insights out of Zingtree directly. You have more ways that it can be delivered into your system. And then you can also use that in an accurate and fast way in your BI to have a more cohesive view of your operations, whether that's within the call center or just within your HQ. So these are some of the things that we're working on. I get super excited about these. I hope many of these resonate with you all. If there's things that you're interested in seeing us build and it's not on this list, we want to hear it. We're doing it for you. So we want to make sure that we're delivering great value to your organization. So feel free to email me directly at any time. I would take any feedback. We're always looking for it. So again, thanks for all your time. I'll stop and we can go through some more Q&A if you'd like in the remaining time. But I really just appreciate all of you. Thanks for being customers at Zingtree.
Thanks, Brandon. That was great. There's some exciting stuff coming up. I'm definitely thrilled with the new authoring so far, and I can't wait to see what we do next here. One other question that came up from David: will anything fix the issue of agent date last used when using SSO? David, I'm not familiar with that issue directly. However, when your customer success manager reaches out to your team, be sure to raise that question, and he or she can go to the product team and get a more detailed answer for you on that. Unless anybody here has the magic answer, which probably we don't here right now.
David, I don't have the magic answer. I wish I did, but we can find out. I don't know the specific issue, but let me dig into it with my team. I'll find out and we will circle back with you.
Yeah, definitely. That's great. And you know what? The one thing I want to impress upon you is, if you've been using Zingtree for a while and you've built some trees, first of all, you do not need to relearn anything, in order to use this. It's super intuitive. Everything that you already know still applies. It's just going to be much more efficient. So there's not going to be a new, whole relearning process. I have no doubt that every one of you can, if you were to switch today from classic authoring to new authoring, that you would see that it makes complete sense, and you'd be able to continue on with your work, and also will be able to you'll be able to do those things much faster. Another one here. With the new tool not having the option to toggle between agent and end user in the preview, how would we review the user tree before publishing it to our website? That's a great question. So most likely you will see that capability. So what we're talking about here is currently in classic authoring, when you put a tree into preview mode, there's a little switch here there that says, do you want to see end user, preview, or do you want to see agent, employee, or end user, and desktop or mobile, right? So that's what you're referring to. We do not have that in new authoring as of yet. However, your feedback is heard and definitely noted, and our product team will certainly take that under advisement and probably even talk to you, get involved in one of the beta interviews. Could we use a publishing link and add code to it? Well, there's a couple different ways you can still preview this tree, in both, as an end user or as an agent. So yes, in the documentation, you will find the URL parameters for if you open up your tree via a publishing link and add an agent mode =1 to it, then you will be viewing it as an agent. If you don't do that, you will be viewing it as an end user. So it really is as simple as that. And also, the preview here that Dante has up on his screen, you can quickly now go back and forth between preview and edit mode on the same page. So right now he's previewing this node. As he clicks, he's previewing other nodes, and he can simply go back to edit that node. And when you preview here, you are previewing as an end user. As I said, if you want to preview as an agent, simply open it via your publishing link, which you can get from publishing and publishing links. Grab that public link, append it with an agent mode =1, and you're good to go. But hopefully we will see this added to our preview experience. With your feedback being taken, it likely will happen.
Like, can I just address that question because I think it's a good one? We will
Awesome. Thank you.
we will add that into our new authoring. So we'll work on that and we will put that into our engineering queue. It's 100% good observation that we should clearly have the ability for you to look at the preview as an agent. So we will work on that. We will put that in our queue and we will execute on that. I don't have a timing. I need to talk to my engineers and a little bit of Dante about how he wants to fit it into the actual user experience. But you have our commitment that we will work on that.
Fabulous. Here we see when you bring the chief product officer to a webinar, stuff gets done, man. So
I just made a statement, Debbie, but we do intend to follow through with that for sure.
yeah, I know you do, Brandon. I know you do. He's definitely a man of his word. Okay. I really want to thank you for your time today. Your customer success manager, if not already, will be reaching out to you to talk to you a little bit about the sandbox environment that you're going to get. That sandbox environment, you can play around all you like. It will not impact your live trees or your current trees in development even in any way whatsoever. It's really pretty much just a playground for you to be able to play around in there, do whatever you like. It's not going to hurt anything. And when you are migrated over, as Brandon said, all of your current trees will be as they are, just living in our new authoring experience. So with that, you will be hearing from your customer success manager. We appreciate your time. We'll let you get back to your day and we'll send out the recording so that you can share it with other members of your team. So Dante, Brandon, thank you both very much. And thank you everyone for attending. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
All right.